Hello and welcome, this is Moose 2006, and today we are going to be talking about fertilizers. Now basically there are three main ways to fertilize your fields. The first one is filling it up here at your fertilizer tank with either the fertilizer spreader or the sprayer. And then the other two involve having cows and getting them to produce liquid and solid manure. And then there's either the slurry tank for the liquid manure or the manure spreader for the solid manure. And we will look at all three of those ways today. The first is right here at your farm at the fertilizer tank. And this is the first one you're actually able to use in the game because, of course, when you start, you don't have cows. So if we go into our shop, there's either the spreader or the sprayer. They both use this tank here, but they just have like slight differences. And it's really a personal preference for what you want. And of the spreaders, this one holds more, but they have the same working width. So that's really the only difference. And then the sprayers, there's only one sprayer. It's this one right here, working with 24 meters. And you notice it has a really small capacity. So they let you purchase this tank to sort of give it a little more. And I'll show how to do that as well. So first, let's just look at how to fill this up. So I have it attached, just one of the spreaders, and you notice on the bottom right it's not all the way full, it's at 85%. So if I want to fill it up, I just drive next to the fertilizer tank here. It appears that I can refill it, push R, and it'll fill up. Then if I want to use it, I just hit B and it'll start spreading. And of course, if I actually want to use it on a field, then just go to your field. And with the spreader, you just kind of have to guess at how much width you're going to use. It's quite a bit. The nice thing about the sprayer is that it unfolds and you can actually see it. And I'll show that in a couple minutes. Now, it doesn't really matter when you fertilize, whether it's before you cultivate or after you cultivate, or I think even if you do it after you sow, as long as somewhere in the process the field gets like wet like this before the crops come up, it yields more than it would if you didn't fertilize. So there's the spreader. The nice thing about this littler one is that you can attach it to the front. So if I attach it to the front here, and then I turn it on, it works the same way, but then I could maybe put a cultivator or a sower on the back and kind of do two jobs at once. This thing doesn't hold a ton of fertilizer, but you can probably knock out quite a bit of a field doing it that way. And then we'll look at the sprayer here. So the sprayer is basically the same. You fill it up over at the tank the same way. The only difference is that it unfolds instead of just spreading it, and I'll show that. But what's really nice is that you notice it has a pretty small capacity, so they let you purchase this tank here and you can put it on. So notice I'm at 100% with this back tank. As soon as I attach the front tank, it drops to 64. So then it's using both tanks at once. You don't have to do anything else except attach it, and then I can fill it up, and then I have more capacity. So it's kind of nice to, because otherwise it doesn't really hold a lot. And then again, you just unfold it. I'll try to find over here. Takes a little while, kind of slow, but again, this thing's nice because you can see exactly where you're going. So once it's finished unfolding, we hit B, and that's that. And then if I wanted to, I could of course hire a worker. And they're able to do it for you as well if you like doing it that way. So there's the spreader and the sprayer. Again, this is the first thing accessible. The downside is that you do have to pay for the fertilizer. So I didn't really point it out, but when I was refilling my tanks, I was spending money at the same time because you do got to pay. Now, if you want to do a little more work and you already have cows, but you don't want to spend money on fertilizer, then the way to do it is either through the manure spreader or the slurry tank. Now, to get manure, you of course need cows. If you feed the cows, they will start producing liquid manure automatically. And then if you bed the cows with straw, I'll show that So if you come in here and you actually put straw, oh, I guess I'm out. But when you put straw down, it'll actually fill up here. That, once you give them straw, will then start producing solid manure. Liquid manure fills up here. It's right there. Pretty disgusting. You can see I'm at 100%, and I'll show you where there's actually another tank that'll start filling up over by the biogas yard, or the biogas plant. And then the solid manure is right here, and I'm at 63% full with that. So let's go into our shop to look at these two things. The manure spreader is actually very easy. You just buy it, fill it up, spread it. There's really nothing else with that, and I'll show that one first because it's probably the easiest. The slurry tank is the same way. You fill it up with the liquid manure, and then you just spread it on your fields. But the game gives you a couple implements that you can use to kind of make things easier on yourself, and I'm going to show all those. I'll show the cultivator with it that they give you here, and then I'll show the transport trailer or transport tank, and then the field container, and we'll get there at the end. So let's look at the solid manure first. So I have a manure spreader here, and what I'll do is I'll unfold it. So I just hit X, and this little flap comes down. That just makes it easier for me to load. So I'll come in here, I'll scoop it up just like you do any other time with manure or like silage. So I won't fill it up, you know, for time's sake. And come over here, and we just dump it in. And that's it. And you just fill up the trailer as much as you want. And then you get in, and I'm not actually going to show this on a field because I don't really have a nearby field. But all you have to do is turn it on, and that's what it is. What it does. You just drive, and it'll spread solid manure on your field there. So this one that I'm using has a working width of 15, and then the smaller ones, of course, hold less and spread less. But again, it's free. I mean, as long as you have solid manure, you don't have to pay extra for fertilizer. So I'm going to detach that. That's the last thing we'll talk about with solid manure, because now we get into something just a tiny bit more tricky with the slurry tank. If you want, you can do basically the same thing as just fill up your tank, go spread it on your field, leave it at that. And I'll show that process first. So you hook it up, and like I said, you go over here, and you kind of go by it, and it'll say refill. So you push R, and it'll start filling up. And again, this is all free because this is just a byproduct of your cows eating, basically. And once you're done and you have it full enough, then you hit B. This is really, really disgusting. And it just shoots out the liquid manure onto your field. Let's see, this one does a working with a 15, this one's 11, so both pretty good size. And this one's 15, but you need either the semi-trailer or the dolly. So I like this one, same width, and you can use a tractor instead. So that's the simple part of the slurry tank, and that's fine. If that's all you want to do that. If you want to get a little more advanced with it, they make this thing called the field container. And basically what that does is you can go set this by all your fields that are scattered around the map, and then you can use this transport tank to take slurry from your farm to these field containers, and then your field containers can kind of stay there, and you can easily access those while you're fertilizing your fields. So let's take a look at that. First, I'll show the tank, the transport tank. You do need either the semi-trailer, or if you can't afford that, you can use the dolly, and you just attach your tractor to this front end, and then back this back end up to the tank there. But luckily, I was able to afford the semi, so I'll show that. It's a little faster, a little more powerful. So basically, you can see I've already filled it up quite a ways. But you just go over here, and the same thing, you just drive by it and refill. Okay, as much as you want. Usually you'd probably want to fill it up all the way, but of course for the sake of time, we'll keep going. Now what I'm going to do is drive over to my field container, which actually have setting by field, so that I can then show you the slurry cultivator combination, which is really handy. So you can do both at the same time or hire a worker to do it for you. And on the way, which will be in just like a few seconds, I'll show you the second slurry tank that you can access. Once the one at your farm, as I understand it, once the one at the farm fills up like mine is, then it'll start filling up here. So if your farm's at 100%, you still get slurry, it just fills up here. So this is at 16, and isn't that a beautiful sight? And once this is at 100, I'm pretty sure then that's it. So you might as well, use it. So we'll go over here. That's how much I weigh right now. And here I have my field. I've already done a strip, and I'll show this in a little bit. But here is the field container. So I can come over here to this field container. Notice there's not too much in it. And it'll say start overloading. I hit that, and I can fill it up. And then while I work on my field, if I run out, I can just run over to the field container instead of all the way back to my farm. That comes in really handy if I want to use slurry over at my regular farm, or say I have a field way up north. I can set these field containers up and just fill them up for kind of easy access. Now, this cultivator. If you go to slurry tank, there's this combo. You do need both of these Zunhammer implements to use this cultivator. So basically, you notice in the bottom right, I have two implements on the back. I have the regular slurry tank, which I can use like that, or I can back up, hook it up to this cultivator. Then when I lower the cultivator, you notice that it turns the slurry on too, and then it can do both. So this is a really good way to knock out two jobs at the same time. Yes, I do notice that this field is already cultivated. That's fine, this is just for show. And then you can of course hire a worker as well, and they can just do both things at once. And if I run out, let's see, it looks like I'm out. Is this true? Nope. Yeah, it looks like I'm out. So of course then, instead of going all the way back to my farm, I can go over to my field container and fill it up from there. And yes, I can fill it up from my tank if I want as well, if it's already there. Oh, gotta select the right tool, refill, and it'll take it from my field container. And no, you cannot take your field container to the farm and fill it up. I tried that. You do have to use the tank, that transport tank there, to fill the field container. So again, slurry can get a little bit complicated if you want it to. If you don't want it to, just use the tank. I know this was kind of a longer video, but like I said, with slurry there's just kind of a lot. So basically, you can either use the fertilizer spreader or the sprayer, just fill up at your farm, fertilize your fields for a higher yield. You can put it in your solid manure if you have been bedding your cows with straw, or you can use your liquid manure for your slurry tanks. Either way, they all fertilize the same way, they produce the same yield. One is not better than the other, it's just what you have available and how much work you want to do and how much you want to pay or not pay to fertilize. So I hope this has covered most, if not hopefully everything, about fertilizers. Any questions, please feel free to comment and I'll answer those to the best of my ability. Have a very nice day.